Hello, welcome back to a reading corner. You'll notice I don't have the camera this time because I've decided my face isn't photogenic enough to be doing this sort of thing. But I'm going to be jumping into issue 1 of The Darkness, and I'm going to be giving you the recap on that issue. Currently, there's 2 issues out. It dropped last December, and I'd been stupid excited for this particular comic ever since it started being teased in the Witchblade. Actually, the moment the Witchblade started, I knew the darkness would come soon after. So, yeah, I'm going back to the issue by issue now. Now that I'm all pretty much caught up. So, and I'm going to be changing up the format again. May look familiar. May also hopefully be something different. For those who don't know, the Darkness is set in the same universe as the Witchblade, and it follows a completely different anti-hero, a mafia hitman called Jackie Estacado, who will... Actually, yeah, I'll read the synopsis at the beginning of this. Mafia hitman Jackie Estacado will become both blessed and cursed on his 21st birthday when he becomes the bearer of the Darkness, an elemental force that allows those who wield it to access an otherworldly dimension and control over demons who dwell there. Forces for good in the world will rise up and face Jackie and the evil this gift represents. There is one small problem. In this story, evil is good. I think that's sort of playing on the idea of the darkness is essentially the villain in the universe, but at the same time, it's not the worst thing in the universe. That's sort of the nature of the supernatural. But yes, anyway, let's recap, shall we? Issue 1 literally starts in a surprising place. I honestly didn't think I was going to start here. It literally starts with 2 people touching naughty bits, and the woman seemingly rather enjoying it, while the man is busy hallucinating a bunch of shadows, talking to him, begging him to literally stop. They aren't the only one, as we meet Mr. Smith, aka Sunteen, busting down the door to look for him, and he's rather horrified when he discovered this man had successfully conceived a child, basically finished fucking this woman before he literally dissolves to death. Okay, so yeah, for those, I'm going to jump ahead and literally explain what's going on here, and it's the main concise difference between the Darkness and the Witchblade. The Witchblade is a physical artifact that you can pass from bearer to bearer. The Darkness, being a sort of eldritch concept, operates in a different matter. Rather than its bearers, rather than being like something that's passed from from bearer to bearer, they are used like hosts, and it's actually passed down essentially like a glorified STD. Literally to the point of the moment a child is conceived, darkness passes from the current host to the new host, which is the unborn child. It's passed on at the moment of conception, and the previous host literally drops dead. I mean, in the previous run, they just dropped dead, like as if died from a heart attack. In this one, this guy literally becomes a decayed corpse on top of this woman, which is, yeah, that's gonna be nightmare fuel for her for probably the rest of her life, or for anyone, frankly. But obviously, this is basically revealed. This is literally Jackie Estacado's origin. This is basically the day his father passed on the darkness to him to, in his words, create a better man. Literally, when he's decaying, he's staring Sontin down, basically metaphorically giving him the middle finger. But then we jump forward and we find out that this is actually a nightmare a child Jackie is having, and we found out he's living in an orphanage. He's basically getting a hard time from the other kids there because apparently bad dreams are a recurring thing for him. But we also find out there's another kid in this orphanage called Jenny who was a friend of Jackie's, and we basically see Jackie's life growing up in this orphanage, literally to the point of he's getting a hard time from the bullies, but when the bullies start hassling Jenny, he clocks them across the face with a dinner tray and nearly beats them to death. And then at some point, the Jackie is picked up by a man called, who we come to know as Uncle Paulie. Point is, he's inducted into a Franchetti crime family taken from this orphanage. Jenny is left behind, but it basically starts Jackie on this path to being the hitman, and that's where we jump to now in the Bronx, where he's literally holding a man over a building because he's basically been ratting on the crime family, But we basically just see standard crime family stuff. He kills this guy. We get to meet Butcher, who's their cleanup crew. Then we see Uncle Paul. We see Jackie joining Uncle Paulie at a Italian restaurant, trying to negotiate some business with some Russians, which doesn't go well. The Russians apparently, basically we just see classic mob stuff. Imagine it's the opening gambit of The Godfather. I mean, literally right down to we'll have the shootout with the Russians almost immediately because of Paulie rejects him and all that. But we also learn two other things in this scene. We learn today is Jackie's 21st birthday, which is important, very important for Jackie's character, and I'll explain in a moment. Second, we also find out this meeting is being monitored by Detective Sarah Bazzini and Michael Yee. And I wasn't expecting Sarah to be in this issue, but it also makes total sense that she is, especially in this regard, because the last time we saw Jackie in the new Witchblade comics, first time we saw Jackie in this universe was in the Witchblade comics. Sarah and Jackie actually crossed paths multiple times in that story. In fact, there was a whole part where Jackie is instrumental in gifting a piece of the darkness to Sarah to help her reclaim the Witchblade in a fight with Kenneth Irons, but why she's here monitoring that. That's why she's also on the scene when the Russians come in to shoot up the place, which ends up leading to Jackie clocking Sarah at the crime scene when she responds. And because they've met, and because they've had these interactions, it's like, okay, there's something there. That Sarah's part of the story sort of ends there, because then we jump to Jackie going to a bar where Jenny is working, and we get to see more interaction between him and Jenny. Anyway, but bottom line is Jackie's just going about his day. He's enjoyed his birthday. He's picked up a girl that he's going to unwrap later, as it were. But meanwhile, he's also being monitored by what's revealed to be Sonatine and Walter. I want to say Walter. Is it Walter? Because that's the point. The darkness. This is the night when the darkness starts to manifest at arguably the worst possible time, because Jackie's literally in bed with this woman, and then he starts oozing out of his eyes, his mouth, and his nose whilst he's riding on top of her. But the point is, this is the moment the darkness starts manifesting, and it's revealed through Sonatine that now that the darkness is manifesting, I can't hide him from the Angelus anymore. So we find out the Angelus is officially already on the scene. And she's got her army of angels at her call, and their goal is to literally try and kill the darkness before it's fully manifested. Because, for those who don't know, the Angelus is the antithesis to the darkness. And so obviously that will make her the ongoing antagonist for Jackie, no matter what. But it's also basically revealed that this moment where the darkness is manifesting in Jackie, where Jackie is manifesting the darkness, there is a small window where both Jackie and the darkness are going to be vulnerable. And so vulnerable to a point that this is the perfect opportunity for the Angelus to kill the darkness outright, or at least prevent this hope bearer from being unleashed. So as soon as she identifies where she is, she sends her forces in. But that's why Sonatine is monitoring Jackie. He's not there to capture Jackie. He's there to protect him from his forces are sent in to protect him from the Angelus. So while Jackie's there vomiting up this black ooze in front of his confused lady friend, these armed guys come busting in the door to grab Jackie. At the same instant, these angels come busting through the window, instigating an entire skirmish of absolute madness. And all the while Jackie's just there like, what the fuck is happening to me? And he's just... So they're all fighting, they're all killing, and then in the middle of the chaos, Jackie has this voice talking in his head. The darkness emerges, and then suddenly we have Jackie donning the armor for the first time, and he just annihilates a few of these angels. We also see him unleash darklings and darkness entities out of the shadows to attack these angels outright, and it's just absolute pandemonium. But of course, Jackie's still got his wits about him. He realizes, I need to get out of here. So, and there's a darkening who sort of leans in. It's like, no, it's like, that's probably a good idea. Problem is, we can't fly. No, but they can. He just grabs one of the angels, throws them both out the window, and basically uses him to cushion his fall and escape into the city, essentially. That is literally Jackie's first night manifesting the darkness. It is absolute madness. Literally ends, and the last panel is just this poor woman he was entertaining in his bedroom, just sitting in the bedroom, staring at all this carnage and blood and dead bodies left in the wake, just going, what the fuck? Yeah, of course. And then we jump back to morning, where I'm assuming it's morning. Jackie's apparently dressed again. He had time to get his clothes back on, at least. Which is a shame, because he wakes up in the garbage. That would have been hilarious. It would have been hilarious to see him sort of wake up covered in trash. Jenny's the one who finds him, so she finds him covered in trash, literally butt naked, just confused, like, what happened last night? It's like, well, that's like, we must have been partying pretty hard. She invites him in for coffee because, oh yeah, it's definitely early morning, so she's still opening up the bar. But it turns out they're not the only two here. There's this. And Jenny calls her a skank. We know exactly who she is. The moment we take a look at her, it's the Angelus who's here, and she literally just approaches the bar to talk to Jackie. Basically comment, and they basically just share a conversation where it's very vague, and Jackie has no idea what's going on. Especially and then Sonatine comes in. He sits opposite Jackie. We end up having the Angelus and Sonatine sitting either side of Jackie, so back and forth. Basically, they give him a rundown of what's going on with Jackie, and that he has inherited he's basically inherited, depending on who you ask, he's either inherited a gift or he's inherited a curse. His father was either a visionary and a genius or a dumbass and an idiot. And they basically give him a brief rundown of what Jackie's got in store and how, he's both important, special, but also dangerous. And it basically made clear that these two have very different agendas for Jackie. And Jackie's just sat there between them. It's like, can you two just shut the fuck up? Yeah, it's basically, the main thing we get from the conversation is the Angelus is going to be coming after him because she's basically his mortal enemy now. And Sonatine has his own plans for Jackie, and he's pitching his services as like a mentor figure to Jackie to introduce him to this, what the darkness is, to give him the answers, and more importantly, to keep him away from the Angelus. Of course, Jenny doesn't like the Angelus. She doesn't know who these people are any more than Jackie does, but she knows she just doesn't like either of them. But the comic literally ends with him literally addressing these darklings and this darkness that's now speaking to him, and he's basically asking them, okay, what the fuck are you? And yeah, that's where we go forward, and it's gonna be wild. I'm really looking for this series. Is going to be fantastic. I said that about the Witchblade as well, and I wasn't wrong. I just hope it doesn't end up being much of a slow burn as the Witchblade was. It took me a bit to get into that, but who cares? That was issue 1 of The Darkness. I encourage you to go get it. Go get issue 2. That's also out now. Issue 3 will be dropping later this month. So plenty to get started in that series. And also check out The Witchblade. I've got a few recap videos where if you enjoyed my little recap here, check out some of those. They're not as good, but I'm working on improving them, and I'll be covering both The Darkness and The Witchblade going forward. So be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.